Welcome to the Happy Rebel podcast, where we explore the realms of finding your calling, living your values, and doing the work of self-healing. Through candid conversations with fellow seekers, we'll uncover ideas and concepts that challenge, expand, and empower us to embrace our authentic selves and live with intention. Hi there, I'm Kelly Street, owner of Happy Rebel and your guide on this journey. I'm known for my insatiable curiosity and tendency for pushing boundaries. I've always been a challenger, eager to question the status quo and explore the uncharted territories of personal growth. So join me as we navigate the twists and turns of life's journey, seeking out the wisdom and insights that illuminate our path towards fulfillment and rebellion against the ordinary. Before we get started, I want to remind you to connect with me on Instagram at Happy Rebel, where you can ask questions and share your thoughts. Remember, you are never alone on your path to becoming a happy rebel. This is the Happy Rebel Podcast. As we enter this moment together in the Happy Rebel Podcast, I invite you to relax your gaze or gently close your eyes. Take a full, deep breath in, and as you exhale, feel yourself grounding into your body, fully present in this space. On your next inhale, envision a golden light forming in your heart, warm and radiant. With each exhale, see that light growing, expanding outward with strength and clarity, illuminating both the bright and the shadowed corners of your inner world. As you settle into the balance of life's light and dark, take a final deep breath filled with gratitude. And when you're ready, softly open your eyes and let's embark on this journey together.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So Onyay, I am so excited to have you here. This has been months in the making, mostly for my fault and on my end, but I'm so glad that it's finally here. The time is now. I would love, yeah, absolutely. I would love for you to introduce yourself to people and share just a little bit about who you are.
My name is Onyay Pheori, and I am a multi-passionate, multi-expressive vehicle for creativity and transcendence. Healing through breath work, inner child work, all kinds of healing modalities. I've been facilitating since 2002, so 22 years off and on. Of guiding groups and individuals and doing retreats and all over the world. And I am also a recording and performing artist. So I am vocalist, violinist, and have performed all over the world with a couple different projects. And I've got music and TV shows with pop, electronic, otherworldly, ethereal. I also sing in light language. So there's that kind of interdimensional, multidimensional aspect to music and meditation that I love transmitting. And I'm a photographer, a portrait photographer. So all kinds of expression in the world. And I travel to sacred sites and do grid work and portal work around the world in sacred sites. But for me, really, it's about going beyond where we've gone before in consciousness and the power of the heart and the power of our higher self and being able to understand ourselves and transmute ancestral karma and pain and suffering and connect in with who we truly are, way beyond what we've been conditioned to think we are by society and family, and really kind of transmute and clear beyond the illusion.
Yeah, shedding layers to get to our true selves, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just want to name that how you came across to me, which you know already, Onyay, is that you led an inner child breathwork workshop session, I should just call it, for my husband and a group of his entrepreneurial friends. And when he came home from that retreat where they did that session with you, he said that was the most powerful thing he had done. And that the depth and the vulnerability that you were able to take this group of men to just blew him away.
That so deeply moves me. There's such a special group of men who are willing to go to these places. And I love just helping people just start letting go of all the things we think we need to be and just get real and tangible and honest about how we feel about things. And that group, your husband and that group of men is so special to me. That was a really, really beautiful, I was blown away by them, of just their willingness to share and be raw and be honest and share their hearts with me, with the group. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, of course. I think it's always nice to I always try to be able to share compliments where they're due, or not even just compliments, but like, hey, you're doing really good work in the world and you might not know it. And maybe you do, but sometimes we just need to hear like, okay, that thing that I did, that was meaningful and that had an impact.
There's nothing like that. Like to know that when we feel touched by someone or when we feel that connection or that something, that's so special. That's such a gift to connect with people on such a deep heart level. And I mean, so many people take for granted their innate gifts in the world. Like it's just part of who they are. And so we can get so conditioned to, it's so normalized of just those things that we, everybody has their zone of genius. And it's so just, we kind of take it for granted sometimes of like, oh, this is just what is. And so anytime you can reflect that to people and help them take a moment to appreciate that about themselves, that's such a gift that you give them.
Thank you. And I just love how the start of this conversation goes, because this wasn't necessarily what I had on my list of things for us to talk about, but since you are a person with many passions and many talents and many gifts, that's something that crosses my mind as like, oh, we could chat about that, because I know for me, talking about my gifts or any gifts that I may or may not possess is really challenging. And even to the point of identifying what those are or acknowledging that I may have any. And I know I'm not alone in this, that I think for a lot of people, saying, this is something I bring to the world, this is a gift I have, feels really hard, feels harder than it should.
Does that feel hard for you?
Yes, absolutely.
So can we dial into that can we
Yeah.
explore that for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
So just even saying that, when you say that and express that, where do you feel that most in your body?
Definitely solar plexus, like gut, but all the way up to I think my heart or my chest. Like
Okay.
it's kind of straight through. Yeah.
Okay. So are you open to just to taking a couple of deep breaths into that space inside of you right now? Just to like, just even as we're talking about this, to just,
Yeah.
so you can either inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, or inhale through the mouth, exhale through the mouth. But just whatever helps you feel even more connected to your body. Beautiful. Couple more breaths just to help you feel that you're opening up that line of listening for what's there, that you're willing to hear it, to feel it, to connect with that part of you. And anybody listening along, if you have that curiosity about what are your gifts, just feel into where you feel that in your body. Where does it bubble up? Does it feel tense? Does it feel cold? Does it feel hot? Does it feel jagged? Just noticing what the tone is, what the feeling, what the sensation is in your body. And see if you can breathe in and let their breath bring more spaciousness, more allowing for that to unravel, to unwind, to listen to how old you were when that first came in.
Yeah, it's like I can feel kind of from right below my throat, like my collarbones, all the way down to my belly, this like wrapped, it's sort of, yeah, it's a wrapped up sensation around that area. And it's like 4, 5, 6 years old.
So just breathe in
It's,
for a moment. Yeah, and really take a moment and invite that 5, 6 year old you to come be with you for a moment. Maybe you see her, maybe you feel her, maybe you hear her, and just See if you can open your heart even more in this moment and take a breath. And if you can see her, really look into her eyes for a moment. Let her feel you really looking into her eyes and becoming so present with her. And now feel and allow her to really look into your eyes and see you and feel you for a moment.
Yeah.
And ask her how she's feeling today.
Shy.
Yeah, so take a breath and just embrace that she gets to be shy. She gets to have all the feelings that she has right now. And ask her what she needs most in this moment. And just listen as if you have no idea what she's going to say.
I keep getting something about hearing the stories, sharing
So
stories, hearing stories. Yeah.
So take a breath and really receive that from her. And are they her stories? Are they your stories? Are they stories from life? Ask her if there's anything more she wants to share about these stories from other people.
Yeah, she's like leaning in and putting her hands under her chin. And she's like, I want to be excited. I want to be curious. I want to hear her stories. And she means you, Onyay. She wants to hear your stories and learn from you. And also, she wants to feel like she's worthy of that something about that she'll grow up to be that way too.
So take a deep breath. Ask her to take a really deep breath into her belly with you. Just long, slow, and deep. And what do you see in her? What do you see as her gift? Is curiosity one of her gifts? And excitement?
Yeah, she's a performer.
Yay! So really reflect that to her for a moment. Really give her the gift of you seeing her in her truest essence. The light that radiates out from her. The love, the essence that pours out of her. And does that feel to you, with your wisdom and life experience that you have now, does that feel like one of her big gifts, one of your big gifts?
Yeah, it does. I see that really clearly.
And do you feel her worthiness? Can you reflect in that way the worthiness piece? And how do you want to, like, if you could mentor her, guide her in this moment of her magnificence and her worthiness, talking right to her from your heart, what do you want to say to her?
I'll say you to her.
Yeah.
That you have so much to share, so much to give, and that your sparkle and your shine will show other people that it's okay to show up with theirs too.
Yeah. Breathe into that. Feel that with all your heart and let her fully receive that. Let her feel. And how does she feel hearing that from you and feeling that?
Really loved. She feels really seen, really loved.
So breathe a few more really deep breaths, letting her feel so unconditionally loved by you and accepted by you. Yeah, breathing all the way in and all the way out. And feel that freedom, her feeling even more freedom to be that love, to be that light, to be curious and sparkle and shine. All the way down into her feet, into her toes, and feeling that going down into the earth, just all the way. And up through her spine, up through your spine, your grounding column, out through your arms, out from your heart, all the way down your arms, out through your hands. It was like shooting light beams out of your hands and her hands, and into all of your chakras and energy centers, up into your heart, and expanding like a great sunshine, like a star in all directions, 360 degrees, expanding out beyond your city block, out beyond Minnesota, beyond the United States, beyond the earth, expanding and integrating this through your whole timeline, your highest timeline, feeling that, knowing that embodiment of your gifts in the world, your presence, your essence, and your worthiness, your divine birthright. Couple more deep breaths, all the way in, all the way out. And how is she feeling right now?
Really good. fully there.
Yeah. Is there anything more she wants to share with you, or
She says, let's do this.
and is there anything more you want to share with her?
That she is always welcome to be there. That she can always be my partner in showing up and shining, sparkling. Call on her.
Yeah. Beautiful. And ask her where she wants to live. Does she want to live in your heart? Does she want to live in the stars? Does she want to in your womb? Does she want to live in the forest, in the trees, in a tree house, in a castle,
Yeah.
someplace else?
She wants to live like from my heart all the way down my right arm. Like she's showing me like how I hold my body, like holding a microphone in my right.
Yeah.
And she's like, I live right here. We're always on a stage.
Amazing. And she feels really safe and really seen.
Yeah. Yep. She's right
Beautiful.
there, front and center, just like, yeah.
Woohoo! Feel that celebration and that joy
Yeah.
of her natural essence and natural space when she feels safe and free and happy and seen and valued just for being her. So thank her for being here with you, for showing up and being a gift for anybody who's listening today. Just even that joy and that light and your willingness to be vulnerable and to share and to open up and share part of your process. Thank her for being that she is that gift, and showering her with love and affection and integrating this throughout all time, space, dimensions, and realities in alignment with your highest good, her highest. So it is.
So it is. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Our inner children are, especially around people wanting to understand their gifts. So many times those things get suppressed in childhood from different, things that are neglected or things that are, even just, children running around on the playground and somebody opens up and shares their true essence and then it's like made fun of or, it's too much or there's jealousy or envy or different things and people start to kind of just, especially as children, we want belonging so much. It's like those things get shut down, or somebody sings and they're told, you can't sing. And so then they think they can't sing when actually it's part of them feeling most free in their energy field is when they're singing or, expressing. So, that's one of the reasons why I love inner child work so much is, there's so many different kinds of inner child work, whether it's, um, you know, going back to the womb of even in utero when picking up the stress patterns of mom and dad, and doing that kind of inner child healing of just helping to transform and transmute some of those stress patterns and trauma patterns from our mother's nervous systems or fear patterns to doing, more of the fun stuff of the child that has the gifts that they want to share with us. So opening up those lines of communication to hear how our inner child feels most loved and cared for, how some of those innate creative expression gifts that were there as a child. So
Yeah.
thank you for being willing to just really get present and listen and see what your inner child wanted to share with you today.
Yeah. Thank you for guiding me into that. That was both really powerful and sweet and completely unexpected.
Hey, love the unexpected.
Yes. Who doesn't?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people don't. Control is a thing.
Well, yeah, and being vulnerable, and you can even trace that back to childhood of getting up in front of the class to make, to do a presentation or to read a chapter. And, so many, public speaking is one of the top fears in the world. So when you feel like you've got eyes on you, what happens in your nervous system that feels unsafe? And you fear judgment, you feel rejection, and, just all those things. So there's so much to explore in your inner world, and I love helping people explore their inner world, the inner critic, the inner judge, all the inner parts of us. And especially when that inner critic or that inner judge runs the show a lot, we have that perfectionism, and that inner dialogue can be so self-critical.
Yeah.
Helping to transform those relationships is so powerful too.
Yeah, it is. So how did you get into doing this work?
Well, I have been through some pretty traumatic events in my life, and did that in college, went through kind of the numbing stage of just wanting to party and shut that out. It was, and also when I was a child, I was super psychic, super empathic, super psychic, super like the high HSP, highly sensitive person to the nth degree, sound sensitive, energy. I could feel other people's feelings. I could feel energies in rooms and spaces, could feel things before they happened. My mom reminded me of something that had, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. She had reminded me of something that had happened as a kid, where oldest sister's 12 years older than I am. And I came running into the room when I was 11 and said, something horrible has happened to Anne. Something horrible has happened to Anne. She was like, nothing's wrong. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Go back to bed. Yeah. And the next morning, my sister had gotten into a horrible car accident with a semi truck and ended up being in the hospital. And that kind of triggered all these other memories of remembering, my gosh, that's right. I could feel things before they happen. And my mom said an interesting thing to me, because my mother was very intuitive and very psychic. And she said, I didn't talk to you about it because I didn't want you to think you were causing those things to happen. But like something started to unravel in my consciousness so deeply that I went, my gosh, I think on some level as a child, I still thought there was a correlation between I was thinking it or feeling it and thinking I was causing things to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before as the ego is forming,
yes,
we have that, we are the center of our universe as a
yes.
child. So we're thinking we are causing certain things. So something actually liberated for me when she said that. Whereas, if she had actually talked to me about those things, I might have understood that I wasn't causing, I wasn't part of the issue, but she thought she was protecting me by not telling me those things. So, but I kind of went that way of trying to just shut those pathways down to function as a human being in the world.
Yes.
And then when I had gone through some traumatic events in high school and early college, and actually there were a couple after college, I had moved to LA in 98, and originally for acting, and kind of came back to music and healing work again. I started doing breath work, and I started doing all these healing modalities that started helping me unwind the trauma in my body and help me understand my sensitivities to know what was my energy, what was not my energy, and how to manage my energy in the world, and how to manage how I reacted to other people's energy in the world. And that's a lifelong journey, right? Yes. Even when you've done work on your triggers, it's like it opens up a spiral of another capacity and depth to have even more self-mastery available, or work on even more self-mastery. So it was really my own personal journey of healing. And then once I started finding these tools, I was like, oh, how can I help other people do trauma release work, emotional release work, understand their sensitivities, understand their gifts, understand their patterns, understand how they've taken on some of the wounds of the family, or their mother or their father or their siblings, and past life karma, past life things that they don't rationally understand why they have aversions or fears in this life, and helping them unwind that from past lives. So there's been a lot of different modalities that have helped me and that I've passed on to clients. And then in 2007, I had been performing a lot, and I was guided the end of 2007, it's time to stop working with people one-on-one and just transmit on stage, transmit angelic frequencies. I was doing a lot more sacred site exploration at that time. and going to different states of consciousness and connecting with other dimensions and other realms and transmitting that through music, and also doing pop music and having songs in TV shows. So there's been a lot of fun expressions of light and sound and energy and frequency for me. And then now, in 2015, I was guided to start working with people again. So I've been doing retreats and individual and group work, and then still do guided meditations, guided journeys with the live music. And I've got some new music coming through, so I'm excited for what is coming. It's always interesting to feel a creative wave as it's starting to come, and just channeling that into the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So, okay, light language. I have a question about that.
Yeah.
First of all, would you be so kind as to describe what that is, or just a little background on light language for people?
So there's a lot of different expressions of light language, so if you think of the frequency of light, there can be kind of more of a scientific expression of that, of just even what frequencies are. I mean, there's Hertz frequencies, the slow geo frequencies. So there are even just the frequency that's transmitted through different sound frequencies. And then you can go all the way to the other spectrum, which is people channeling different galactic languages and cosmic languages. And there's a wide, just thinking about how many languages there are in the English language. There are as many, if not more, of different kind of starseed languages. So thinking about, and again, I've still kind of been in the closet with like how much I am, starseed. There's a part of me that would rather communicate through more of a galactic language. That feels more like a first language for me than English actually feels like a second language for me. But there's been that fear for me of not wanting to be perceived as like the woo-woo out there, because I work with a lot of business people, a lot of people that are very practical and they would think that I'm not going to put that onto them. They're going to think whatever they want to think about it. But where that would be maybe even a little scary or confronting to have some kind of a channeled language come through that is kind of out there, so foreign. So for me, even as a little girl, I would be making up songs in other like light language. And I know I'm kind of dancing around it. This isn't like a succinct, here's what light language is, because I don't normally, share that so much publicly, but it's kind of infused into some of my music. So it's a little easier to feel and experience. And, a lot of the times when I'm doing journeys for groups, I'll bring in just a little bit of it, but it's singing. So it's not just like a spoken light language. People are like, was that English? What were you doing? Where were you? What was that? I felt it, and I recognized it. I felt it in my heart. I felt that in my soul. So there's some that sound very Arcturian or very Pleiadian, or, there's kind of these known starseed groups, and people will channel in different frequencies, but they're beyond our conscious mind, because they're not, like even if somebody were to speak Spanish to you or French to you, there's like, wait, I don't understand what you're saying. But if you kind of turn off the mind for a moment and just go into receptivity, and how do you feel from how they're talking or communicating with you. So with light language, it's these higher frequencies of consciousness that are beyond the human mind. And they are meant, with any language, you can have the intention to uplift someone. You can have the intention to help kind of shatter illusions and help people raise their consciousness to a higher level, to love or to peace or to joy or to enlightenment. And you could also have an intention to harm people. I mean, if you think about it, with what's being broadcast in our news, all the fear that is being broadcast in news and all the violence in movies and TV, we've become so desensitized and numb to that. And yet, what are we feeding? What are we feeding our mind and our consciousness? So I love channeling the light language through music and just talking. that helps people raise their frequency.
Yeah. So how did, for you at least, what is your process now to connect with light language? How do you go into that space? Because I think I'll just say that for a lot of people, channeling is it's a feeling that once you connect to it, you just know, and you're like, oh, channeling just means inner alignment and allowing space for something to come through.
And it is having that intention, like getting to know yourself so much to when you are operating more in shame, guilt, fear, apathy. Are you familiar with the scale of consciousness?
The like Esther Hicks, like that, the ladder, or probably not. No, I'll
Well,
just say no.
that is even from Hawkins' work of, he had there's a book called Power versus Force, and it goes up the scale of consciousness. So Abraham Hicks, it is Esther's, when she's channeling Abraham, the Abraham consciousness,
Yeah.
she is talking about going up that scale.
Okay.
So Hawkins did, I think he had like 20,000 patients, and he was testing consciousness on a biofeedback machine. And he really wanted to understand like, how do you map out the map of consciousness? When shame's at the lowest, I think it's at 20, and then guilt, and then you move up. So, we're always up and down this scale through a day. It's not like you get to love and then it's like, that's it.
Good.
Yeah, we're good. But you dip up, you kind of dip up and down the scale. And the more you get to know that part of, those parts of you and how to navigate that scale. And when you're in shame, how do you work with that? Or when you're in guilt about something that you did or didn't do, how do you work with that? Or when you're in grief, when you've gone through loss or rejection or loss of a job, loss of a home, loss of a family member, a friend, or a relationship, how do you ride those waves of emotion and feeling and kind of work up and down the scale? So for channeling, being able to really kind of tune in, the more you do that, the more you're connected with your higher self, the more you're connected with those higher frequencies. Maybe you're channeling angels, maybe you're channeling an ascended master, maybe you're channeling some Christ consciousness, a Christ energy. Maybe you're channeling a Buddha energy or a Kuan Yin energy or a Divine Mother kind of energy. So being able to start experimenting with that and exploring that. I always have because I had to learn the hard way from starting to travel to sacred sites in 2005 and exploring energies and just opening up my energy and connecting and feeling like thousands of souls that had been sacrificed and meeting, helping them cross over, but opening myself up to some pretty gnarly energies and still having work to do myself to where, some tears in my etheric body or etheric field and having some energies kind of hang on for a ride and having to navigate that and having to go through some pretty gnarly spiritual warfare and spiritual battling through some health journeys and some just really learning the difference between fourth dimensional fields through ayahuasca and psychedelics and fifth dimension. I mean, I say it higher. It's not this way. It's more of an interdimensional experience for me. But really, I've had so many lessons, Kelly, in discernment of who and what I open my energy to, really understanding my yes and my no. That part of me that feels people's pain or a collective group's pain and wanting to just go and be there. How can I help, with how can I help and channel some love to you? But also having that other step of discernment of, is this mine to do? Is this, am I truly protected in this moment? Is this appropriate? Is this in alignment in my highest good to do this in this moment? So, people who are just starting to open up to channel or to connect in, there may be some lessons in discernment around that, of really getting it when you're connected to a true light rather than a false light or something that is feeding off of your energy versus the purest, truest light and love in all of creation. So I had to, I've gone down very shamanic paths in my journey and my training of connecting deeply with the underworld and being able to navigate the shadow, because, that's important too, is being able to really go into these places and bring compassion and love to these places, and not just abandoning them and disowning them and having that wreak havoc in your life. So how do you really face your shadow and love yourself and start understanding those ways in which your shadow operates and your ego gets triggered, and bringing in more compassion, and your loved ones, your partner, when, your partner gets triggered in their shadow, and when both of your shadows are triggered, and how do you navigate that? So I also really love working with couples to help them start to understand each other and bring in consciousness and mindfulness when the egos get triggered, when those patterns, those childhood traumas and patterns get triggered. And how do we just really show up with presence and listening and love and curiosity to understand each other. So that's a lot of deep, powerful work. So I know I've kind of gone off on a bunch of different little moments and tangents here, but being able to navigate the shadow is important, and also discerning kind of where, who and what you're channeling and connecting with is important too.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I love that you keep doing, I mean, I know on my end, if you're watching on video, I started that with the alignment of feeling that line. I always, whenever I'm like, oh, what does alignment feel like to me? And I'm like, I don't know. It's clarity from the top of my head all along my spine. And I just feel this line of openness. And that's what happens when things come through for channeling. That's what happens when I know that something is right, or there is a yes, is like I feel that line of clarity there. So I love that you're also doing that, because I think people feel it in different ways, but that for me, that's my go-to, is just that line in the center of my body feels open and clear.
Yeah, and I love that, and that brings up such a good point, because some people are very kinesthetic. They feel it. Some people are big feelers. Some people just know when they're connected and they're not connected. Some people it's audio. Some people it's visual. Some people really see and experience light pouring through, and they get a lot of visuals. Some people aren't visual at all, so they're trying to see stuff, they're trying to imagine it, but they're just like, I can't see it. So they think they're not aligned, or they can't do it. But actually their way is to feel that channel opening up, and they might have extra sensations when they get super connected. So I love that that's your languaging too, and you, sounds like you really help people with that in their experience. And I love helping people just even start to understand the language of their soul, their higher self, their inner child, all these different parts, so that they know what their yes is, and they know what their no is, and they have it. It's not through their mental body. It's through a felt sense. It's through an embodied experience of when they're connected and when they're disconnected. And then when they're disconnected, just the more we practice getting connected, the more it can be instantaneous. And I also love that analogy of it's like letting the dishes stack up in the sink, and then it's like harder to clean them off when they get crusty, or when it's like a day old, and that you really got to scrub it to get the food off.
Yeah.
Versus just everybody having an energy hygiene routine of being able to once a day, and it doesn't have to be 20 minutes or an hour of meditation. It can be just a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to just get curious, breathe. I loved your prayer, that were the meditation moment to invocation that we started with today, and being able to just really do a few deep breaths, have that experience that people can kind of defrag their nervous system and get connected. And the more we're connected, the more we're plugged in, the more rich, the more alive, the more thriving happens. And the more we're in discernment in the moment for what is that right for me? Is that not right for me? Not through their mind, but through a higher space, to where there's less cleanup on the back end, because people are living in their truth in the moment and what's right for them in the moment. They're not overgiving, overextending, trying to morph and shift and change and do things that their soul, their heart the body's telling them it's a yes or a no, or some part of them is, maybe it's been numbed, maybe they're in so much fight or flight, or numbed, or depressed or shut down, that they don't hear those cues and feel those cues. But there's stuff happening. It's just helping people getting resensitized to what is the yes, what is the no, so that they're really living in their highest timeline, their highest design of life. There's so much less on the back end to have to clean up when you are listening to your highest yes and no.
Beautifully said. This is not at all where I thought we were going to go today. None of this was, inner child work was on the sheet, on the things we talked about. But I think this has been a beautiful conversation. And I thank you for sharing all of your wisdom. Let's do the obligatory. If people want to find you, Onyay, where can they find you?
They can find me. I'm onyaypheori.com is more of my healing facilitating website, onyaypheori.com. And then I've got my music website, onyaypheorimusic.com, Instagram, Onyay, even though I kind of go in cycles of being, putting content out on Instagram, and then some months where I'm taking a little break. But Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, I've got some stuff in all of those places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll list all your links in the show notes. But thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much for this beautiful, loving, fun, and playful space that you hold, and the light that you are in this world, and the love that you are, and the creative expression, and the entertainer. I love getting to meet your little girl, and thank you for all that you're doing in this world to bring love and creative expression.
Thank you. Shucks. Thank you for being part of the Happy Rebel podcast community. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Happy Rebel. If you've enjoyed our episodes, please consider rating, liking, and reviewing the podcast. It truly does help us grow. Until next time, this is Kelly Street. Remember, embrace the dark and the light.